In today's show, the Trailblazers drop in the lottery and land with the 11th pick in the 2025 NBA Draft. There is no joy in Mudville. Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trailblazers reporter Mike Richmond. You are listening to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. Thanks for making this show your first listen, coming at you each and every weekday, Monday through Friday. So make it a part of your daily routine. Make it your first listen. Tell your friends to do the same. It's Locked On Blazers, your team every day. In today's program, the Blazers drop in the lottery and finish with, they'll finish with, who knows what they'll finish. They land with the 11th pick in the 2025 NBA Draft. They did not overcome the odds. In fact, their second most likely outcome came out, and the Blazers will have the 11th selection in the draft. We will talk all about that and then some today. We'll talk about what it means, who landed where, how whack the lottery results really were. We'll talk history of the 11th pick, both for the Blazers and the league at large, plus the early return mock drafts for your prognosticators churning it out immediately after the lottery. See whom the Blazers are selecting according to the folks who are paid to make these type of predictions. Let's talk about the lottery, though, first. I am not a believer that the lottery is rigged. And quite frankly, I won't really entertain that notion. If you do believe that the lottery is rigged, I will say, certainly have some fodder for that belief after today's results, this evening's results. Go share that with your friends. I don't care about it, nor do I want to hear about it. I will offer this as a blanket rebuttal. Tell me about a rigged league when the Wolves and Pacers play in the NBA Finals. Tell me about a rigged league when Oklahoma City and Cleveland play in the NBA Finals. Go ahead and tell me. I would love to hear about the league being rigged when I'm watching the freaking Wolves play the Pacers in the NBA Finals. Okay, enough of that. That's for y'all, not for me. The Mavs got the number one pick in the draft. This thing is freaking rigged. The Dallas Mavericks, with a 1.8% chance to land the top overall pick, of course they did it. Spurs end up second, Sixers third, Hornets fourth, Jazz fifth, Wizards sixth, New Orleans seventh. Yuck. Followed by Brooklyn, Toronto at 9, Phoenix 10, the Blazers at 11, 12 Chicago, 13 is the Kings pick going to the Hawks, and 14 the Spurs will pick again, courtesy of the Hawks. But I think those top 7 is what I want to focus on right now. I mentioned that I'm not a believer in the rigging or the league fixing this nonsense or whatever. It's like there's so many reasons why I don't believe it, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend to be deeply impartial. In fact, I will quote myself, a text message I sent to 2 friends separately, not a group chat, but separate text messages. Type this phrase out twice. Extremely cursed top 3. I don't want to see this nonsense. I don't want to see the Mavs get Cooper Flag. Nah. The Spurs, again, always notoriously lucky. San Antonio, get out of here. And the Sixers getting the 3rd overall pick after the season that they had and the franchise that they are. Like, well, I may be in some ways like Blazers agnostic and not like and can be sort of, I don't know, unemotional or whatever when it comes to the old pinwheels. Like, I still have plenty of biases, right? And I think in some ways you look at this lottery and it's either the death of tanking or proof that the Blazers should have lost more. It's sort of a Rorschach test for what you want to believe. Like I said, the Mavs were rewarded with the top pick in this draft, potentially generational player. Like, I don't think Cooper Flagg has any elite skills, but he is big and does everything well. And maybe just that combination of no holes in your game makes you elite. Like, I think he's going to be very, very good. He's going to be very, very good. Stinks. And the Mavs get rewarded for one of the stupidest seasons in league history. They give away Luka Doncic over the cover of darkness for no reason whatsoever. And maybe there was a great reason to trade him, but the way they went about trading him makes no sense. It was one of the stupidest moves an NBA team could make, and they're rewarded with the number 1 pick in the draft. That sucks. The Spurs, notoriously lucky. I mean, they just move up in every draft. You're going to have to explain to me why the league keeps rigging it for the San Antonio Spurs, that's a basketball team that's located in San Antonio, Texas. At some point, one of you deep conspiracy theorists will have to explain to me. Please do not contact me with this information. I'm joking, but you have to explain to me why the league is fixing it for the freaking Spurs. Yeah, the Sixers, an absolute debacle of a season. They end up third. Like, they deserve got nothing to do with it. So if you look at that, right, think like, well, these teams didn't tank and they're rewarded. This is the death of tanking. This is exactly what everyone was saying to you all year, Michael, is that, like, when you were pining for the Blazers to lose more games, and not every single game, but, like 5 or 6 more, you're an idiot, because even the teams that, these teams are rewarded regardless. And moreover, the Jazz, with the worst record in the league, who were the most just shameless tankers all season long, sitting healthy players, only playing their veterans against good teams when they felt like they were going to lose anyway, and then there's like the heavy youngsters against bad teams. They got fined for making up injuries about Lowry Markkanen, like truly, truly egregious stuff. They dropped to 5th, the worst case scenario for them. That was as far as they could fall. That was the most likely outcome, I believe 25% chance, is somewhere in that range of falling to 5th. You tank because of the 14%. You fall to 5 because of the math. The Wizards, maybe not as sort of egregious in their tanking, but they did like the sort of more natural way that you lose a bunch of games, which is you just don't build a competitive enough roster, right? You don't build a competitive enough roster. They just never had a chance to be competitive. They were particularly bad, but they just don't put enough good players on straight up on the team such that you could play them and be a little bit better. They dropped to 6. The Hornets, with the 3rd worst odds, they're the only team that didn't fall out of the top 4, and they end up 4th behind those other, behind the absolutely insulting top 3 ahead of them. The Hornets haven't won a playoff series since 2002. That's 5 presidential elections ago. Kidding me? It's been a while. New Orleans, who fell all the way to 7th, had the 4th worst record in the league, the 4th best lottery odds entering the night. And they had an absolute nightmare season, and they fall to 7th. In terms of, like, expectations versus where they ended up, I would say that Utah, Washington, and New Orleans had much worse nights than the Portland Trail Blazers. So some tankers were punished. Some non-losers were rewarded. Certainly true. Is this the death of tanking? I don't think I see it that way. Rorschach test. Every other team than the Mavs, who's ahead of the Blazers in the lottery, finished with a worse record. The only team that jumped them was the Dallas Mavericks. Obviously the Spurs jumped higher up into the lottery. Sixers jumped higher up into the lottery, but those teams had better lottery odds going in. San Antonio and Philadelphia did. The Mavs, with their 1.8% chance and behind the Blazers to begin the day, they're the only team that jumped ahead of them. The math is the math. And let's be 100% clear here. The Blazers chose this path. This is a path they chose. They chose to keep on, attempting to win games. You don't just magically hit the win button, right? But they didn't do these sort of egregious things they'd done in past seasons in order to lose. They didn't sell off useful players just to be actively bad. They didn't do the capital T tanking stuff that they had done the past few seasons. They nobly walked this path. An 81.9% chance to finish at 10 or 11. They finished at 11. 18.5% chance. The second most likely outcome on the board was that the Blazers would fall from 10 to 11, that one team behind them would jump and they'd fall from 10 to 11. That was the second most likely outcome. The most likely outcome is that they would stay at 10, 63.4% chance. But this was it. They went in with an 82% chance to finish right where they did, and that's what they did. This was the second most likely outcome, and it came out. This has been reported by some folks who are in the room, including I saw Ben Golliver of the Washington Post report this, that the Blazers were one combination away from finishing first. One combination away. They had the first three numbers in the combo. The last number was the Mavs combination. If that last number flips, and it happens to be, it could have either been Washington or Portland could have jumped up. You could play that game if you want. I think you could play that game. The Blazers were one combination away in the Wemby draft as well, right? They certainly were. They're one combination away, right? That's I think that's true reporting based on how the stuff works. But that ain't what happened. They chose to do this. They chose, in some ways, to they lost a game on purpose on a Friday evening against the Bulls, and then they went out to win a game on Sunday afternoon 2 days later against the Spurs. They lose that game, you might be talking flip-flopping odds, right? Chase them down. I know that I am saying like the team should lose on purpose. Yeah, I mean, it's gross, right? But the league has perverse incentives. And if the Blazers had been a little more committed to those perverse incentives, the teams just ahead of them in the lottery climbed. The Blazers chose this path. Bad luck, rigging, whatever. The Portland Trail Blazers said, this is kind of what we're aiming for. And come what may. This is what came. They are reaping what they hath sowed. So is it the death of tanking or the need to do more of it? A Rorschach test. I want to get into episodes later this week about what the Blazers are going to do at 11. But I think it's important to set some expectations. When you have the 11th pick in the draft, what the heck should you even expect? Let's go back to some history books. The last decade or so of 11th picks to kind of set the stage. There's some real stinkers in there. And there's an MVP and a Hall of Famer. While they're not predictive, I think it might be useful to visit. So join me, and we will take a visit. Plus, we'll talk about the Blazers' history with the 11th pick as well. Join me in that second segment, won't ya? First, though, let's talk Hungryroot. Listen, life's busy. You might think that, the weather's getting warmer, kids getting out of school, and saying this is the busy season. But all of our seasons are typically busy, which means you just might not have time to go grocery shopping or to come home after you go grocery shopping and cook healthy meals and plan those healthy meals and get it on the table. And that's why you might need to turn to Hungryroot. It's like having your own personal shopper and nutritionist wrapped into one. They take care of grocery shopping and meal planning, and they offer personalized recommendations based on your taste and your health goals. So they'll tailor orders based on what you like, or they'll try something, and if you say you didn't like it, they'll get smarter, and they won't give you stuff you don't like, and they'll continue to learn what you like. So the more you use Hungryroot, the better Hungryroot gets at delivering you healthy stuff that you will love. They got high-quality, nutritious food, so you can stick to whatever your meal plan or dietary needs are. So you need gut-friendly foods, you need high-protein diet. You can do that without spending hours planning. Plus, the meals come together in 15 minutes or less, giving you more time for whatever it is you need more time for. Take advantage of this exclusive deal. 40% off your first box plus a free item in every box for life. Go to hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA and use the code LockedOnNBA. That's hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA, and the code is LockedOnNBA for 40% off and a lifetime free item. Today's program is also brought to you by Monarch Money. Life is expensive, and every so often you might check your bank account and think like, where did my money go? Because you're doing things and you're spending money and you're living life, and it can be easy to lose track of your money or your finances while you're living life. So why not use Monarch Money, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It is a budgeting app, but it's so much more. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place, so you stop just managing your money and you start building wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps to look at say your bank account and your savings account and your 401k and your other investments and all those things. Monarch Money brings it all into one place so you can track all of those things on one easy to use, clean looking app. And you can manage your money smoother than ever. So you can track your shared and personal accounts. Say you've got a spouse or a family member that you share an account with, you can track it right there. You can set goals and you can stay on the same page for what those goals are without all the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, and the code is LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. All right. I think one of the challenges of your team drops in the lottery, right? You had Cooper Flagg dreams. Yesterday's show I did all this manifesting about Cooper Flagg, and a lot of good that did me. No, just kidding. It's fun to have fun. I'm pro positivity, even if I can be a little negative sometimes. I think it's important to tap into your joy when you are capable of it. Yesterday I was capable of it. Today I'm more of a realist. But I think it's important. It's like when you have those Cooper Flagg dreams, you have those Dylan Harper dreams, and the Blazers now drop down to 11, right? And it's like, dang it, I can't believe it. And certainly this is bad news for just like because the obvious. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that tell you or sell you that it's actually good. You know what? The 11th pick's good. Here are 5 reasons why you'd rather pick 11 than 4. That's not what I'm going to be doing here. But I do think putting like expectations into perspective about what you're hoping for at 11 can help kind of ease some of your anxiety a little bit, hopefully. Some of that is just think about, like, who goes 11? I looked back at the last, 11th overall picks I knew off the top of my head. Cam Johnson. Shout out to Kobe White. Cam Johnson went 11. I knew Shai Gilgeous-Alexander went 11. I knew Myers Leonard went 11. But I looked back from that Myers Leonard draft a little bit just before that, and kind of looked at the recent or that stretch of 14 years of draft picks since 2011. Random cutoff, right? Just a totally kind of arbitrary cutoff. But I think it gives you a sense of expectations. Who's gone 11th? Well, last year was Matas Buzelis to the Chicago. I think Matas looks like a player. I don't know how good of a player, but I think he's going to be a positive NBA player for a long time. I thought he was pretty darn good down the stretch for the Bulls. Jet Howard went 11 in 2023 to shooter for the Magic that hasn't really materialized as a shooter. Ousmane Dieng went to the Thunder in 2022. James Bouknight in 2021 went to the Charlotte. Devin Vassell before that to the Spurs. Cam Johnson, 111, was traded to the Suns on draft night. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was traded to the Clippers on draft night. He went 11th overall. Malik Monk was a Hornets pick at 11. Domantas Sabonis was a Magic selection at 11 back in 2016. And the year before that, his future teammate, Miles Turner, at 2015, the Pacers selected Turner at 11. Doug McDermott was the 11th overall pick in 2024. Michael Carter-Williams, the eventual Rookie of the Year in 2013. An absolute mess of a draft in 2013. Michael Carter-Williams, the Rookie of the Year, taken 11th overall. Myers Leonard, the 11th overall pick in 2012, and Klay Thompson was the 11th overall pick in 2011. So if you look back at those picks, 2 Hall of Famers. Klay Thompson will be in the Hall of Fame. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is going to win MVP this year. He'll be in the Hall of Fame. That's how it works. I think the only MVP that is like on the cusp of Hall of Famer is Derrick Rose. He would not be in my Hall of Fame, but I would bet a lot of money he will be in the Naismith Hall of Fame. So, over the last two out of 15 ain't bad. Hall of Famers, that's pretty good. Domantas Sabonis is an all-star. He's a very good player. Miles Turner is a darn good starter. Cam Johnson and Devin Vassell are dudes who are going to be, rotation-level players for a long time in the league, depending on where they are, come off the bench, but top 7, top 8 contributors and often starters for a long time in the league. But obviously both started this year. Matas Buzelis looks like a player. I think if you're setting expectations, somewhere in the middle, right? There are Jet Howards, there are Ousmane Diengs, there are James Bouknights. There are Michael Carter-Williams, dudes who are, competent but not actually quality players in the end. Doug McDermott, who's like kind of stuck around the league for a while but was never like a plus contributor. Myers Leonard, who was similarly like had a fairly long NBA career, was never a positive contributor. I think what you're hoping for, if the Blazers stay at 11, pick at 11, is that they get a rotation player, a dude who plays in the league and is a positive contributor for a long time. Think like the median player on this list is something like Malik Monk or Miles Turner. That would be a pretty good outcome. Those dudes help you win basketball games. It's not the star level thing that the Blazers need, but they're still in a phase where they need more talented players on the roster, and this is a space where while you are much less likely to draft an all-star, because certainly there's not a lot of names on here who have been all-stars, 3 by my count, obviously arbitrary cutoff, but like I think positive rotation player is a reasonable place to say your expectations. Myers Leonard is not the only player the Blazers have ever drafted at 11. Back in 1982, this is pre-lottery, they drafted Lafayette Lever from Arizona State. That's your boy Fat Lever. Twice they have acquired the 11th pick on draft night. I'm never sure what to do with this, right? Like, Jared Bayless, to me, is the 11th pick in the draft by the Blazers, but like technically he was drafted by the Pacers, and the Blazers traded multiple players and the draft rights to Brandon Rush for Jared Bayless. To me, though, that's the 11th pick. We'll call it that. And if you're going to go by that, according to my research, shout out to Sean Respert, Gary Trent Sr. In 1995 was a draft night acquisition in June of 95. The Blazers traded for his draft rights on way back when. So the Blazers have left draft night with the rights to the 11th pick in the draft 4 occasions. Fat Lever in 82, Gary Trent Sr. in 1995, Jared Bayless in 2008, and Myers Leonard in 2012. Who will be the 5th? Will the Blazers keep it? What are they going to do? Let's talk mock drafts in the 3rd segment. Who do the prognosticators see the Blazers taking with the 11th pick? Let's talk early predictions. Join me in the 3rd segment, won't ya? First, though, let's talk FanDuel. It's the NBA playoffs, and FanDuel's making it easy to stay in the game even if your team is out of it, because every night delivers action and momentum shifts and can't miss moments. So whether you're looking for, last-second shots or a big breakout performance, there's never been a better time to get on the action with FanDuel. So before tip-off or live during the game with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. So say you're watching a game, right, and it's halftime, and you've watched one team just have this kind of outlier shooting performance, right, and you're like, no way this keeps up. Well, you can get in on a prop for the 3rd quarter following a hot 2nd quarter to fade that team. Or if you saw a player have a struggle first half, say, well, he went 1 of 9 from the floor. He's going to be better than that. You can, if you got a read on who's about to heat up, you can get back in it. And you can even get back in it with a same game live parlay. Live player props in game, stacked together for a live same game parlay. And plus, you could do all that and get $200 bonus bucks added to the excitement if your first $5 bet wins. If you are new to FanDuel, it's a perfect time to sign up. Head over to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet if it wins. If that first $5 bet is a winner, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Still a pass first point guard. I'm still Mike Richmond. You, dear listener, are still listening to Locked On Blazers. The prognosticators have arrived. It is indeed mock draft season. Now we know where the Blazers are slotted to pick. I think in the future, I know in the future, later this week, talk about the Blazers potentially trading this pick, what it looks like to trade up, to trade out. Up seems relatively unlikely, but to trade back in the draft order, to package this pick with a veteran and blah, blah, blah. Like, we'll discuss sort of the ways that the Blazers could either not make this selection or use this selection to do other things. But let's, for now, the prognosticators have flown in. They've dropped in on their parachute and penciled who the Blazers are taking immediately following the lottery. I think these are always interesting. I I will pay pretty close attention to ESPN's mock. Mike Schmitz used to work there. He's one of the Blazers assistant GMs. He has a big role in their scouting and drafting, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, I will be paying close attention to it. I will say that the ESPN mocks have been not immediately following the lottery, but like the next round of them that they release, been pretty dang predictive. But we'll start with the NBA big board. Rafael Barlow, as he said on this very show last week, that he liked the fit of Derek Queen with the Blazers because that's big man from Maryland, Derek Queen. Raf views Queen as someone who could play either 4 or the 5. I trust Rafael. Like, I think he's really smart. That's not really what my eyeballs saw. I'm a little more skeptical of that, but I respect people that do this professionally. Like, I will say that I am certainly not an expert. I've seen less of Queen than Raf has. Queen is who Rafael at NBA Big Board has. At ESPN, you know who they got? Derek Queen of Maryland. Big man. Blazers could, they need big man depth because the future of DeAndre Ayton is uncertain, and it would be, quite frankly, fairly surprising to me if he signs another contract with the Blazers. Stunned is not an appropriate word, but I would be pretty surprised. I think the clock's ticking at the moment they drafted Donovan Clingan. Rob Williams' future is uncertain. Duop Reith is not a high quality NBA starter. He's a depth piece. Even though I like him and like his story, like they're going to need frontline help. I don't hate this. I don't love it. I like Derek Queen a lot as a basketball player. I think he's incredibly fun, skilled, good passer. Has a face-up game. I like him. I'm probably not as excited about the fit necessarily, but I think I can see the logic at least. And also, like, at this stage, the Blazers just, like, talent is important. If Derek Queen's the best player on the board, get that figured out later. Like, they're not I don't think many teams ever are in the draft for need, but the Blazers certainly aren't in that mode. Over at the Ringer, they got the Blazers drafting Derek Queen from Maryland. This is a pick people like. This is a name folks like, is Derek Queen, big guy from, it's, to me, center, but I'm going to use big. I'm going to use because I want to be open to the possibility, even if I'm a little skeptical of it, that he could play 4 or 5. At Yahoo Sports, Kevin O'Connor has the Blazers drafting Colin Murray-Boyles from South Carolina. Colin Murray-Boyles is a masher, right? Like, he's not maybe like a straight-up post-up threat, but he kind of scored in the college level by being stronger than everyone else because he's like 6'7", and he just mashed. Like, he just was physical, and that's where his offense came from. If he had more on offense, I think he would be a higher-level pick because I think that defensive versatility in his frame and some sort of other sort of connective skills, like he has some upside. Without the shooting and on offense, maybe his overall upside is capped. But he's an interesting piece. If he was a little bigger or a little bit more above the rimmy or a little bit of more of a shooter, he wouldn't be available at 10. He would be much higher up the up draft boards. But he's not. So he's going to be in that late lottery range. And if you get a serviceable player in the late lottery, think Miles Turner, like long time sort of like league average center forever, working on his 11th NBA season. You did very well. And at The Athletic, Sam Vecini has the Blazers taking Kasparas Jakučiūnas, the big guard, 6'6" guard from Illinois. I like Jakučiūnas. I like his game. He's like, a crafty big guard who can really pass. Rafael Barlow on this show brought up some concerns about his overall athleticism, how that works on defense, how that works as like getting into the paint, being a guy who creates advantages off the dribble at the next level and being a high turnover guy. But no denying that he seems like he can play both guard spots. He might have some shooting upside, and he has some playmaking and vision at least. He's an interesting piece. I wouldn't hate that pick either. I don't know that I would be super, super hyped on it, but I don't know that there's anyone at 11 that I would sit here and bang the drum for. I think as I get deeper into this process, I'll probably form some preferences, some of them totally out of nowhere, just like kind of with my surface level scouting, and some of them based on, conversations with people I respect around the league who've watched a ton of college basketball and people like Rafael Barlow who, scout for a living. over the next coming weeks, we'll talk about all types of draft stuff. I'll bring a bunch of draft experts, people who do this professionally, onto the show. We'll talk mock drafts. We'll talk rumors. We'll talk all of that. We're a little over a month out, 5 weeks-ish, a little more, from the NBA draft. We're going to have you covered everywhere. We'll talk about all of the permutations and my favorites and least favorites and your least favorites and favorites and all of those things. From every angle, we'll have you covered. It's what we do 5 days a week, wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. The Blazers succumbed to the odds. The mathed them. I think their best bet is to be incredibly frustrated that the Dallas Mavericks were rewarded for nonsense. The San Antonio Spurs are always rewarded, and the Sixers got a little carrot for being totally discombobulated franchise. Spend some time being frustrated, and then come back to Locked On Blazers, and we'll talk about how the Blazers move forward from here, because the path involves moving forward regardless. Tell your friends about the program. I appreciate you listening. I'll talk to you soon.